Hi, everybody. So indeed, I'm Yves Reynhout. I'm a software consultant, and I mainly work together with companies that tend to build products, not projects. And today I wanted to talk about domain modeling. And there's already a spelling mistake on there, I think, because is modeling written with one L or with two L's? I think it's the difference between English from Britain and American English. So what is domain modeling? Well, domain modeling it's basically a bit of an art form. It's not something that you can basically say that is a science of sorts. It's not that when I'm on a project, for example, that it's been a systematic approach to this. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to find concepts, abstractions that fit the domain you're in, and then actually capture a lot of knowledge and language in doing so. But it is very much an act. It's something you do. It's not static. It's something you do continuously. And when you find these concepts, you kind of put them together in such a way that you're able to solve one or more problems that are present in that particular domain. Now, I thought a lot about what I would talk about in these 30 minutes that we have, and I could talk about all the models that I've created and built, but then 30 minutes would not be enough, I'm afraid. And so I thought, well, maybe I should try it with an example of what that domain modeling is actually like. And I thought, well, what could I use that's fairly simple to grasp, that everybody should know? And I thought, well, I have an item in my possession, and maybe some of you have this item as well. It's called a wallet. So if I ask for a raise of hand, who has a wallet? Wow. So we're definitely not disconnected here. And so if I want to model my wallet, basically, yeah, there's a first question that pops up in my mind is, what makes this my wallet? How would you know this is my wallet? Have you ever been in a shop or on the street and you found a wallet on the ground? The first thing you do is you pick it up, basically, and you look around, like John Travolta, basically, where? And then you kind of say, well, nobody's reacting here. So you open the wallet and you go looking for clues. And in my wallet, there's my identity card, and somewhere hidden away, I'm sure it's here. Oh, sorry. Oh, there's my driver's license with a very ugly picture I'm not going to show you. But there's my name on it. So that kind of hints at this being my wallet. And the kind of way I could come up with a very concrete model of that would be this. So if there's an identity card on there with Yves' name on it, or a driver's license, and I find these things in his wallet, it must mean that that is his wallet. But what are an identity card and a driver's license? So a lot of what we do in domain modeling is finding abstractions, right? And so the abstraction that I found was, well, an identity card or a driver's license that actually is sort of a proof of identity. And then that refers to a person, and I found it in a wallet. So this helps me solve, basically, I would imagine 90% of the scenarios, if I'd ask somebody basically for his wallet, I could solve finding out who the wallet belongs to using this particular model that I've come up with. Is this the only way I could have modeled it? No. If you want to be really precise, maybe I should show you a receipt that I paid for this wallet, and there's a serial number on there, and the serial number is in my wallet. But when domain modeling, a lot boils down to, yeah, how far should I go? How much should I abstract? And sometimes you come up with, well, maybe this is good enough because I'm able to satisfy a lot of the scenarios that I have. So let's look at my wallet in a bit of a different way. And I do mean this is a unique experience. I'm not in the habit of showing people the contents of my wallet. It's once in a lifetime, and you can actually say after this conference you've seen the inside of my wallet. So I have here a $5 note. I have a 5 British pounds. I have, so here's where we find out how rich I am. Oh, there's like 50 euros in here. There's some coupon that has expired in here. There's a receipt in there, well, which I passed during the tunnel. There's a lot of debit cards in here, credit card. There's a, what else is in here? Oh, there's loyalty cards. There's business cards. There's coins in here. Oh, this is for, and then there's the card of the hotel. So there's a lot of stuff in my wallet. I mean, I sanitized it before I came here, but already it has accrued a lot more stuff, basically, since I'm here. So again, I can somehow model this, where I come up with, oh, so these are all the things that are in my wallet. And a lot of times when we do domain modeling, we kind of take out the unnecessary things and we abstract. So I'm not really interested in all these bonus cards and coupons and things like that, but I might be interested for the problem that I'm solving. And granted, I've been the domain expert here. I'm more interested in the money and the cards and the proof of identity, if anything else. So a lot when you do domain modeling is that you actually choose what goes into the model. It's not because the real world has all these aspects that you need to model them in your, well, need to bring them into your model. And far often, or more often than not, basically, this is where we end up. This is where people stop, and then they show a big diagram with all the entities that people found, and they can, I mean, the tooling is there to generate your databases, to generate your classes, etc. But that's ultimately where most people stop. And that's also where I, for a long time, stopped. But then I started to wonder, well, there must be more, right? And when I discovered domain-driven design, I found out that it focuses a lot more on behavior as well. So if I look at my wallet, basically, what behavior does my wallet have? What function does it perform? That's fairly simple, right? You put money in, you take money out. You insert or return a card, or you use a card at that point. But what's interesting is that the conversation I'm now having becomes much more interesting. Where's the money coming from? Where's the money going to? How much money? Which cards do I put in there? So I can start asking a lot more questions about this. Obviously, yeah, that's not the end of it, because what makes it much more interesting, basically, is that we start looking at the rules. And what rules could govern my wallet? Well, a few weeks ago, I was in a bar, and I ordered one of them fine Belgian beers, and I drank it, and I opened my wallet, and it appeared there was no money anymore in my wallet. Now, luckily, I had my credit card, and I could pay that way, or I could run to an ATM, basically, and get money that way. But there's an actual constraint in here. If I've taken out all the money, basically, I cannot take out more money. That's an actual physical constraint. That's a rule that's tied to my wallet. And that could manifest itself in a piece of code, and even if you don't know how to read this code, I mean, you can clearly see that in order to take money out, I'm basically checking whether the amount available in my wallet is bigger than the amount to take. I've inverted the thing here. But if there's not enough money basically in there, then I'm just going to say, well, there's insufficient money in my wallet. And again, that makes the conversation a little bit more interesting. And our model starts to, I would say, grow in knowledge that it's capturing of what's happening in the domain, even though my wallet is a really trivial domain, if you think about it. Now, up until now, we've been looking at my wallet in a particular context, which is just my wallet. But when you're solving problems, you're always in a particular context. And what I mean by that is that you work for a specific company, you work with a specific set of people. So the circumstances in which you are doing this domain modeling activity are going to dictate a lot. And you're trying to solve a particular problem. Now, imagine that I'm a game designer and I come up with the great idea to actually create an in-game currency that people can spend. So how am I going to present that to the people that are using my game? Well, I may come up with the concept of a wallet again. And the behavior I'm looking for there is that I'm putting in V-Bucks and I'm taking out V-Bucks, where V-Bucks is the currency in my game. Anybody know which game this is? Yes, exactly, Fortnite. But in designing basically the wallet for the game, something happened. We've adopted the language, our own language of the currency that we're employing, but there's no concept of a debit or a credit card in there. So a lot what happens when domain modeling is that you're ditching the abstractions that you found useful somewhere else, and you're not trying to reuse that basically in some other context. Now, here it's easy to see that my physical wallet basically, could be useful as a basis for this type of wallet. But sometimes, like, the game is more interested, for example, in what type of transactions have happened. And all of a sudden, my wallet starts to look a lot more like my bank account. Now, is there a way in which I could mimic basically all the transactions that happened? Sure. Whenever I pay for something, I should get a receipt. Whenever I get money out of an ATM, I should get a receipt. Put all those receipts in my wallet, and I basically have a similar thing. So there's a lot of analogy that we can reuse, basically, when we're designing in certain domains. Another example, a casino. This is an online casino. And again, our wallet starts to take shape here, where we can actually deposit money and or cash out, basically. We can place a bet, we can win a bet. And there's a different type of currency here, which is bonus money, which is time limited. And there's no, how would I say this? Is there an analogy that we can find in this wallet that represents bonus money?
A gift card?
Sorry?
A gift card?
A gift card, a coupon, anything like that basically is an analogy that, that we can find there. But I want to point out something different here. I mean, the ultimate thing that we're doing here is that we can simplify things. It doesn't matter whether we win money or cash out. It's basically, again, putting money into the wallet and taking money out of the wallet. So whenever, if we compare it to this, whenever you have a lot of language around it, around a certain piece of our model, in this case, the wallet, we should think, well, can we not simplify this, right? And that's a lot what goes on in domain modeling, is that you try to find something simpler that would work just as well. But sometimes, I mean, your preconception of a wallet just does not translate. There could be an entirely different way I could be looking at my wallet. What if I'm working for the manufacturer of this wallet? How would I be looking at this wallet? I'd be looking at, oh, this is a leather wallet, and there's blue thingies on the side here. There's fabric on the inside being used. There's stitches being used, so that means thread. So if I have to come up basically with a model in that way, then it would be entirely different, and this central concept of a wallet would basically no longer be present. It would be more like there's a product group, which is the wallets, because they'll probably have more than this type of wallet or this model of wallet, basically, if you will. And I'd be much more focused on the bill of material and how much leather I need and how much fabric I need and the assembly instructions that go with that. So to summarize, effective domain modeling means that you need to have access to domain expertise. This is probably the most essential thing that I find that people struggle with, is that they come up to me and they say, well, how can I do DDD? And I say, well, who's your domain expert? Do you have anybody you can talk to and find out more about the domain? And there's obviously doing a lot of analysis and design. I mean, the whole thing we've been doing here is essential to domain modeling. It's this act of exploring and looking at things in fine-grained detail, if you will, to find out more. How often do you find yourself doing that in the domain you're in? Have you sat next to an end user or a domain expert while he's doing his job? And it's also about asking a lot of important questions and interviewing people to find out more. And okay, we can do a lot of brainstorming and experimenting along the way. I mean, it's just not finding the one model, it's finding maybe 3 or 4 models and then choosing which one actually fits the problem that we're trying to solve better. There's also the fact that when you're creating a model, which is kind of an abstract something, it's not a visual, it's not a piece of code, but at the end of the day, we want to bind basically that model to that piece of code such that we feel comfortable that the model and the implementation actually match. And as I've demonstrated here, I've used a lot of language that goes around with my wallet. So even though this is not probably the deepest type of model that one can have, I do hope you found that in a short amount of time, you can find out a lot about a specific domain, and it can entertain a lot of ideas about how to actually represent it using abstract notions. And that's it. Thank you.